I now tell everyone the phrase, "The more I get to know people, the more I adore animals." This is especially true when it comes to my cat, Vasily. Despite being from a noble breed, I found him as a tiny stray kitten on the street. I couldn't resist his cries for help, so I took him in, and he quickly became a beloved part of my life. Vasily proved to be more than just a furry companion. He actually played a role in shaping my life. His charming and affectionate nature won over my future wife when we first met. Within 6 months of dating, we decided to move in together. As our relationship grew, we even started planning for a future with a child in mind. However, our small rented apartment wasn't ideal for raising a family, so we began searching for a new home. With my career at the furniture factory on the rise, I had managed to save up enough money to buy a new apartment. My wife and I had high expectations for our future home, envisioning a good neighborhood, a new building with its own parking, a nearby park, and a beautiful view. We believed that by providing the best environment for our future child, we could ensure a happy and comfortable life for our growing family. So, despite the cost, we were determined to find the perfect place. Thanks to Vasily, our lives had already been touched by a stroke of luck, and we were confident that our diligent efforts would lead us to the luxury we desired. Finally, after just a few months, we found ourselves standing in our new one-bedroom apartment. Being one of the first residents in the newly finished building meant that we had a handful of neighbors, including our new acquaintance, Igor. It didn't take long for Igor to pay us a visit. "Hello, neighbor. Let's get acquainted." I live next door, and I'm currently doing some repairs. He greeted us with a friendly smile. "Nice to meet you. Please come in and join us for some tea." My wife immediately welcomed him. "Oh, and this is our cat, Vaska. Come here, Ginger, say hello," I added, trying to introduce our furry companion. However, to our surprise, Vaska hissed and quickly disappeared into hiding. "Seems like your cat isn't very fond of guests," Igor remarked with a hint of curiosity. "Perhaps he's just a bit stressed from the move. Cats tend to be more attached to a place rather than a person." "Don't worry, he's actually quite friendly," my wife reassured him. I didn't think too much about it at the time, assuming it was just temporary behavior. We proceeded to enjoy our tea and sandwiches with Igor, who was pleased to discover that I had expertise in furniture. He even asked for permission to visit us for some consultation, and I happily agreed. After Igor left, Vasily finally emerged from hiding a couple of hours later, heading straight to his food bowl. Despite the speedy progress of renovations and landscaping, I couldn't always be there to personally oversee everything. After all, the work needed to be done, so I mostly relied on hired laborers. Fortunately, my wife kept a close eye on things in my absence. A few times, upon returning home, I was surprised not to find Vaska eagerly waiting for me at the doorstep, as he usually did. "Did Igor stop by?" I asked, trying to lighten the mood. "How do you know?" My beloved rounded her eyes in surprise. "Well, the cat seemed scared, and he clearly doesn't like our neighbor," I said, not expecting confirmation that Igor had actually been here in my absence. "Honey, you know how hard it is for me to manage everything alone." I asked him to put up a shelf because we have nowhere to put our mugs, my wife explained. "Besides, you've been busy at work." Yes, the shelf was indeed hanging, but I didn't pay much attention to it at the time. What surprised me more was the sudden influx of new neighbors coming to introduce themselves. Lively twin sisters, an elderly couple, and a single mother with her young son. Surprisingly, Vasily, our cat, was friendly to all of them, even allowing the little boy to play with him. But he despised Igor, just as he hated having his claws trimmed or taking a bath. It was clear that he had an intense feline hatred for our neighbor. After Igor's visit, Vasily would hide for a couple of hours before reappearing. This became a regular occurrence, but I didn't think much of it at first. However, my wife started suggesting that Vasily may need to go to the vet due to his increased nervousness. I couldn't easily believe her, as I had my suspicions. Taking a day off from work, I decided to observe our apartment and see if any unfamiliar men visited while I was away. I made an arrangement with the elderly couple living across the hall, securing a perfect view from my vantage point. It didn't take long before Igor emerged from his apartment and headed straight to ours. Despite the difficulty, I waited another 15 minutes before finally entering. "Shouldn't we take you to the vet? Can't you two find a way to avoid each other like animals in the wild?" I almost yelled, catching them together in our bed. Igor's face froze in shock. Though he was taller, I was much stronger, thanks to my laborious work in the factory. My wife, in tears, left that day with a suitcase, heading to her mother's place. I bid her farewell with a bus ticket, and I had no desire to continue living in that apartment. I decided to put it up for sale. But now, Vasily receives his favorite treats regularly. He deserves it. I am confident that I will find a faithful wife in the future, and Vasily the cat will continue to guard my peace, keeping a close eye on people.